It's my pleasure to introduce myself as Dr. D. Ghayathry, Associate Professor of English, Sri Sharda College for Women, Autonomous Salem 16. My presentation is on the topic Arthur Miller's All My Sons. Miller was born in New York City in 1915 to Polish Jewish immigrants. His father was a successful businessman until the stock market crash of 1929. Miller was an American playwright, essayist, and screenwriter. His other works include Death of a Salesman and The Crucible. Miller's works have been widely performed and adapted and have contributed to the formation of American identity, particularly in post-war America. Here comes the introductory part and followingly a brief summary of All My Sons. All My Sons is a play about the Keller family and their relationships with each other. The play explores the complexities of family dynamics and how secrets can tear a family apart, and how the characters in the play are all struggling with their own personal problems. All My Sons is a play that has had a lasting impact on American theatre. It is a classic example of American realism and has influenced countless playwrights. The play's themes are still relevant today and continue to resonate with audiences. The play dwells into the consequences of past choices, the clash between generations, and the quest for truth and justice. It ultimately examines the price one pays for personal success and the impact of unethical decisions on individuals and their families. All My Sons is a poignant exploration of the complexities of human morality and the pursuit of the American dream. Here is the pictorial representation of characters, which gives us a deep insight into the story. The guilty protagonist is Joe Keller, an industrialist who, during the war, supplied the government faulty cylinder heads. When these brought about the death of 21 pilots, Keller committed the second crime of putting all the blame on his innocent partner Deaver. Deaver goes to prison and Joe Keller prospers. This irony is supported by other instances that Miller affords in the examples of those who suffer fighting for their country and those who staying behind flourish. But the success of Keller is not lasting. The climax of the play is the suicide of his son in the army on hearing the news of his father's crime. Keller finally kills himself and pays the price of his sin. Let us discuss the summary of Act 1 in detail. The play opens in the backyard of the Keller family's home in the suburbs. The stage is divided into two areas, the house and the yard. The house represents the private sphere, while the yard represents the public sphere. The audience is introduced to Joe Keller, a successful businessman, and his wife Kate. Joe and Kate's son Larry has been missing in action during World War II for several years, but Kate refuses to believe he is dead. Chris Keller, Joe and Kate's other son, returns from the war and is planning to marry Ann Deaver, Larry's former girlfriend. Ann's brother, George Deaver, arrives and reveals that their father, Joe's former business partner, is in prison for selling defective airplane parts to the military, which caused the deaths of 21 pilots. This revelation sets up the central conflict of the play, as Joe's role in the scandal becomes a topic of discussion. The tension in Act 1 is driven by the secret that Joe Keller is hiding. It is gradually revealed that he is responsible for shipping faulty airplane parts during the war, which resulted in the deaths of 21 pilots. The main conflict in Act 1 is the tension between the Keller family and the Deaver family. The Kellers are trying to move on from the past, while the Deavers are still haunted by it. Anne brings with her the news that her brother George is coming to visit. This news sets Joe Keller on edge as he fears that George may reveal the truth about a past business deal, and reveals that she has a letter from Larry which she received after his death. The contents of the letter are not revealed in Act 1, but it is clear that the letter contains important information that will affect the Keller family. A comprehensive analysis of key moments in Act 2. The action continues in the Keller backyard. Joe's guilt over his role in supplying the defective parts becomes more apparent as he faces accusations from his family and George Deaver. Chris confronts his father about his actions and struggles with the idea of inheriting Joe's wealth. Kate clings to the hope that Larry is still alive, causing tension within the family. Anne reveals a letter from Larry written just before his death, indicating his despair over Joe's actions and his intention to take his own life. The act ends with dramatic confrontations among the characters. Act 2 explores how the characters' actions and decisions impact the story's outcome. Act 2 is a pivotal moment in the play where key themes and motives are developed and characters' motivations are revealed. The relationship between Chris and Anne is a turning point in Act 2. Their love for each other is tested as they grapple with the truth about Joe's actions and their own complicity in the cover-up. Larry's letter, which is revealed in Act 2, sheds light on the truth about Joe's actions and the devastating impact. Joe Keller can be seen as the tragic hero of All My Sons. Act 2 reveals his flawed character and the consequences of his actions. His obsession with profit over morality leads to the death of innocent soldiers and his own downfall. He is a good husband, a good father, but not a good citizen. Act 2 reveals Kate's refusal to accept the death of her other son Larry. Her desperation to hold on to the past ultimately leads to the unraveling of the Keller family. Act 2 reveals how the characters' refusal to accept the truth has led to tragic consequences. Let us now discuss Act 3. This act takes place on the same day as Act 2, but later in the evening. The tension escalates as Chris confronts Joe about Larry's letter. Joe's guilt becomes overwhelming and he realizes the extent of the damage his actions caused. Joe takes responsibility for the deaths of the pilots and commits suicide by taking his own life. The play ends with Chris and Anne deciding to move forward with their lives, but the family is left to grapple with the consequences of Joe's actions. Act 3 explores the moral and ethical implications of war profiteering. This act marks the climax of the play, revealing the consequences of the characters' actions. In Act 3, the Keller family is forced to confront their guilt over their involvement in the faulty airplane parts that caused the death of 21 pilots. This guilt is represented through the characters' dialogue and actions, particularly Joe Keller's breakdown. Anne's confession to Chris that her father, Steve Deaver, is not solely responsible for the faulty airplane parts is a major turning point in Act 3. This revelation challenges Chris' belief in his father's innocence and sets the stage for the play's climax. The letter from Steve Deaver that is read aloud in Act 3 provides crucial evidence of Joe Keller's guilt. This letter is a key turning point in the play as it forces the characters to confront the truth about their actions and the consequences they have had. Anne shows her wisdom and resourcefulness in dealing with different characters. She impresses all the persons in the play by her intelligence and presence of mind. After the death of Larry, her choice of Chris is natural and cannot be disapproved. Larry's letter, which is revealed in Act 3, provides the final piece of evidence that confirms Joe Keller's guilt. Joe Keller's confession in Act 3 represents his acceptance of responsibility for his actions. This confession is a key moment of catharsis for the characters and sets the stage for the play's resolution. This resolution is a moment of closure for the characters and the audience. Let us discuss key themes and motives in All My Sons. In Arthur Miller's All My Sons, guilt is a pervasive theme that drives the plot and reveals the complex relationships among the characters. Joe Keller and his business partner, Steve Deaver, knowingly shipped out faulty airplane parts, leading to the deaths of 21 pilots. Joe Keller is a complex character who is driven by a desire to protect his family. However, his involvement in the wartime scandal ultimately leads to his downfall. Through his character, we see the impact of guilt and conscience on our decisions. Chris struggles with surviving the war while his comrades died, leading him to question the morality of his father's actions. Chris' attempt to follow his moral compass by demanding justice opens a rift in the family and causes further guilt and soul searching. Chris' love for Anne and his willingness to forgive her brother shows that he is capable of redemption, offering a glimmer of hope among the tragedy. All My Sons explores the theme of nature by using it as a powerful symbol throughout the play. The organic, natural world is in contrast with the artificiality of the factory, emphasizing the characters' conflicts between authenticity and deception. Nature's beauty clashes with the cold and mechanical nature of industry, highlighting the characters' struggle between their desires and their responsibilities. So we can see symbolism of nature which is substantiated through the blossoming flower, which symbolizes hope, growth and the potential for redemption. Dark storm clouds represents the looming of consequences of the characters' actions and the moral cloud overshadowing their lives. Falling leaves indicate which signifies decay, loss and the fading integrity of the characters. The backyard tree acts as a powerful symbol in All My Sons, representing the characters' desire, their secrets, and the devastating consequences of their actions. The tree represents the innocence of the characters before the tragedies and reveals the devastating cost of their choices. The tree stands as a silent witness to the character's secret and acts as a reminder of the burden they carry. The decaying tree serves as a visual metaphor for the crumbling morality and crumbling lives of the characters involved. So coming to the conclusion part, personal responsibility. Miller's play emphasizes the importance of personal responsibility and the dangers of denying the truth. The play offers a critique of the American dream and warns against the price we may pay for pursuing it. The play shows the transformative power of the truth even when it is painful or difficult to face. Thank you.